To all who come here, welcome. You are listening to the Mouse Knows Best podcast, your weekly dose of all things Disney.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Mouse Knows Best podcast. I am your host, Barry, and joining me tonight is Jared.
Hey there.
And Cody.
Hey, all.
And producer Joe.
Heidi-ho, neighbors.
And tonight we have a very special guest. You probably will know him as soon as you hear him, but we have the great Bill Farmer joining us. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, thanks for coming on. And we're going to go ahead and have a little interview with Bill, and we hope you enjoy it. And Bill, why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about how you came to Disney and what you did before that.
Well, let's see how much time we got. Not in real time, but the truncated version is I grew up in a little town, South Central Kansas, Pratt, Kansas, where we didn't have that much to do really, but watch TV, television, movies, and I was a big movie and cartoon fan. And at an early age, I kind of found out that I could kind of impersonate some of the characters that I'd heard. And in those days, they were ones like, Bullwinkle Dee Moose or Bugs Bunny. Oh, brother, ain't I a stinker? And I would just practice these things around the house. And, it was just kind of a joke. And my friends thought it was great. And as I got older, my friends would kind of push me up in front of groups like, Farmer, get up and do something, man. And I would have to work out some routines or something to do. So I started writing little comedy bits. And again, it was in college where my friends would put me up to this, and we would drive through, burger places, and they'd say, order in a weird voice. And I'd go, I'd like a Whopper with cheese, and a Coca-Cola. And they'd all look out and everything. It just kind of started off as a joke thing. I never really thought it would be a career. And after college, I got into radio, where I developed characters for on the air as a DJ, as well as an engineer. And so I kind of had a background in electronics as well. And, and on the advice of an agent in Dallas, which is where I was living at the time, they said, well, with all the voices, why don't you go to Hollywood, see what you can do? I came out here, and as luck would have it, about 4 or 5 months after I got here, my agent said, do you do any of the Disney characters? And I think like most people, they play around with the voice a little bit, and I could do a Mickey kind of, gosh, oh boy, that falsetto thing. And Donald, I couldn't do it all. It was kind of like, boy. That's all I can say. But gosh, Goofy, right in the wheelhouse. And out of about 1,200 people that tried out, I was the lucky one. And so this coming January, it will be 30 years of doing the Goof.
So, Bill, let me ask you. So, who were some of the people you looked up to get your voice talent? Like was it Mel Blanc or somebody like that?
Yeah, of course. I think everyone loved Mel Blanc, and I've been lucky enough to do some of his voices over the year. And a few episodes of Robot Chicken. I've done Bugs and Daffy, and in the movie Space Jam, Foghorn and Sylvester and Yosemite Sam. Great big honor. Also, one of my big heroes was Dawes Butler, who, of course, voiced all of the great Hanna-Barbera characters, Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Snagglepuss, all of those. And I had the good fortune to study with him when I first came out to California. And I would credit him with kind of letting us know that it's not just about doing the voices. That's your instrument. And you can give a guy a guitar, it doesn't make him a guitarist. You got to learn how to use it. And he was the one that really emphasized that you are an actor first and a, quote, voice guy second. And, of course, there's so many. And comedians over the years, I loved, of course, Marx Brothers and W.C. Fields and Johnny Carson and Jonathan Winters are my favorites. And you just try and learn from all of them and pick it up. And hey, I'm so lucky to be in the industry now and for this many years.
All right, Jared, you have a question?
Yeah, Bill. First of all, thanks for coming on the show. This is awesome.
Cool.
And one goofy question I have for you is, can you do the goofy falling yell?
Oh, the yell, yeah. Interesting thing about that came out in 1947 in a cartoon called The Art of Skiing. It was one of those how-to, the beauty of skiing and those cartoons. But it wasn't Pinto Colvig who did the original voice of Goofy. It was a yodeler by the name of Hans Schroll who did that voice. And you always hear that when Goofy falls, and I have to do it all the time. And I have to do it twice for the engineers because it's very loud. And I would say, okay, now this is really loud. And then I do it, and they go, geez, okay, I'll back off the volume. Then I have to do it again. But it's basically, I don't know how that sounds through a computer, but it's fun in the studio.
All right.
I got one more quick one.
Oh, go ahead, Jared.
Sorry about that. What is your favorite Goofy cartoon, past or present?
Oh, gosh. I love the 1930s, the mid-1930s with ones like Lonesome Ghosts, Boat Builders, Clock Cleaners, that era of the old ones. Of course, of the ones that I've done, people ask me all the time, and gosh, I've done probably, over 3,000 jobs for Disney in the last 30 years. And a Goofy movie really comes to mind. They all have a special thing, for different thing, but overall it'd have to be a Goofy movie because that was a full-length feature film. It was the first time any of the Fab Five got to star in a full-length feature film, and I got to see it in theaters with an audience, which is really, really cool to see and hear your work up on a big screen.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Cody, you have a question?
Yeah. Hey, Bill. I'm just curious. I was looking at your filmography, I guess, online today. I noticed you provided some additional voices for a few of the Pixar films, like Toy Story.
Oh, yeah.
How did you get involved with Pixar, and how's that process working with Pixar?
Oh, it's great. Well, I had been doing in an ADR group, and for those listeners who don't know, ADR is like additional dialogue recording. In other words, it's after the picture is pretty well made before it comes out. About the last thing you do is to add the additional voices. It might be a little character in the background or an off-screen character that they need to get that not on any of the main principal recordings, like in the movie Beauty and the Beast, the crowd scene as they're going up and attacking the castle. Well, that's the ADR group. And I got involved with an ADR group that works a lot with Pixar and other studios as well. And over the years, I've done, before Pixar, of course, I did, like Beauty and the Beast and Tarzan, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And then with Pixar, Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and Bugs Life and Monsters, Inc. and Cars and, Monsters University and all sorts of these things. And it's a lot of fun because you never know what you're going to do, and you never even know if what you do is going to make it in the movie. I did a movie called Shrek 2, and we a lot of times I'll have several of us do a line, and then they will in post pick which line they want to use or what actor. And we were sitting there, and there's a scene where they're having a party at the castle, and there was an announcer, and I said something like, let's see, introducing Princess Fiona and Prince Shrek. And my son was seeing the movie with me, and he goes, Dad, that was you. And I go, yeah, it was. I'd forgotten I did that. So you never know when you're going to catch, be there. Sometimes a little word here and there, sometimes a sound effect. But it's so much fun. When we did Cars, John Lasseter came in and spent the whole morning kind of going over how he came up with the idea, his trip through Arizona, scouting out locations and cars and things like that. And it's great fun.
Cool. All right. And So let me ask you, Bill. Now, did you do any? You mentioned some Hanna-Barbera shows. Did you actually work on any of those, or were any of those kind of your favorites?
Oh, well, I love the Hanna-Barbera ones. I've never done any of those characters except for, I guess I did a video game called Bedrock Bowling, and I was Bam Bam in that. But that, I think that's about all I did. But no, it's basically studying with Dawes, which was kind of got me my start. That was, but I loved, Quick Draw McGraw, and of course Yogi Bear. I even have a tape that I had gotten Dawes to do with me, where I was faking like I was doing the impressions, and I was sending it to a friend back in Texas. And it's like, hey, Scott, I've been working on my Yogi Bear voice, and let me try that. And then Dawes would do, hey, boo-boo, it's Yogi Bear, and so that's as close as I've gotten to doing that, except doing it in front of the TV and for my son and everything else.
All right, Joe, do you have a question?
Yes, thanks. Hi, Bill. I have a question from one of our co-hosts, Brittany. She wanted to know how long you have been the voice of Goofy, and how did it come about getting the job to be Goofy?
Well, I kind of went over that a little bit. I've been doing it. This coming January will be 30 years. And as I say, I was a stand-up comic before and just got lucky with an audition. And I thank God that it was Goofy. First of all, he was my favorite Disney character growing up, and to get to do him was especially rewarding. And also, they're using them all the time. If I did a great Popeye voice, I'd be out of work because they ain't doing anything with that character. So I lucked out doubly doing my favorite one and doing one that after all these years, they're still doing stuff all the time.
I have one other question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the most difficult voice you've ever attempted?
There's a couple. A lot of times in ADR or video games, you'll have to, scream a lot. They always say screaming for the last day because you just rip your vocal cords out. I remember there was one of the video games. It was like the army guys versus the zombies. And one of the directions was, okay, the zombies ripped your arm off and he's beating you with it. And you have to go, ah, and scream. But if you try screaming for about an hour, that you start sounding like the Godfather. I had to do something once where I had to read 4 pages as Wolfman Jack. And, baby, oh, yeah, his voice is way down there deep, kind of a gravelly voice there, baby. And I do that, and after about 4 pages of this, I needed myself a beer, baby.
So Bill, do you get a lot of requests for you and the modern day voice of Mickey and the modern day voice of Donald for a lot of appearances, things like that?
Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of appearances at Comic-Cons, and I'm in 3 series right now. We have the new Mickey Mouse shorts, which are on they premiere those on YouTube. And luckily, I won an Annie Award last year for one called Goofy's Grandma. So that was, and in 2009, I was made a Disney legend, which was a big treat. So we can do a lot of appearances. I was in Kansas City at a film festival about a week and a half ago. I recently, with Tony Anselmo, the voice of Donald, was at the Comic-Con up in Salt Lake City. I'm going to another Comic-Con back in Kansas City in about 2 weeks. And I've got other ones coming up in Florida, in Orlando. I think later on in the year, Toronto. I'm going to be going on the Disney cruise ship doing an appearance. And yeah, they keep us busy. It's such a fun job, and I'm so lucky to get a chance to do it.
Yeah, one of the interesting things is, I have a bunch of little kids, and one of their favorite shows is Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And when I said that I was going to be talking to the voice of Goofy, they literally freaked out about it because they they enjoy Goofy and his antics on that show. So what's it like working doing the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse?
Well, I've been doing that since 2006. And so that's a long running show and still very popular on the on Disney Channel. The basic, it's kind of anti-glamorous. It's not very glamorous to really do the show because it's just me and a microphone with a script. A lot of people think we're looking at the film or the finished animation. No, the voice is always done first, and then they send it off to be animated. We never really get to see it until it comes back, and then we're doing ADR and doing any pickups or corrections that we need to do. And so a lot of times, especially if it's a new series, you don't even know what the characters look like until it goes on air. I'm on a series called the 7D, and it's kind of of the Seven Dwarves, and I play Doc on that. And for the first year of doing the show, I really didn't know what half the characters looked like because I hadn't even seen a drawing of them. But then it comes on air, and then you go, oh, that's what they meant. I even did an episode of finishing an episode of that today, and I was in the studio with George Takei, who was doing a guest starring role on one of the episodes.
Awesome. Jared, question?
Yeah, so you've been doing Goofy for so many years. I mean, you know him pretty well. Do you ever get a say on, no, Goofy wouldn't say this or act this way? Do you have any say on that for new shows or anything?
Yeah, generally I do. They kind of defer to me as kind of the expert on what he would say or how to say a certain thing and keep it within what the character would do. There's also Disney Character Voices, which is a division of Disney that kind of oversees like the scripts that come in. Let's say some toy company wants Goofy to be in a talking toy. They review the scripts and make sure, Goofy wouldn't say that. He would probably say it this way. And they iron that all out even before I get in the studio. But even if I get in, sometimes I'll just do it. Well, let me try it this way. And I'll do an ad lib or something like that. And if they like that, they'll keep it. Or if they like the original way it was written better, they'll keep that. So I do have a say, but it's not cool. Like, and they defer to me. They listen to me and says, oh, yeah, that was better. And so that happens a lot.
Sweet.
All right. Cody?
Yeah, Bill, you were talking about Mickey Mouse Clubhouse earlier. I just want to let you know that I grew up on the House of Mouse back in the day.
Oh,
that was my favorite show when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just curious. We hear Goofy's voice throughout the Disney parks occasionally. Do you have a favorite project you worked on with the Disney parks that feature Goofy?
There's in Toontown, they had Mickey's movie barn where Donald and Goofy are the projectionists. And you can kind of see Donald get caught in the projector, and it's off screen, but you see their silhouette a little bit. Sometimes I like that at Mickey's PhilharMagic down in Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. Goofy's really at his best when he's trying to help out. Like putting Goofy in charge of anything is not a good idea, and they always seem to do it anyway. On the Mickey Mouse shorts, we had one called Wonders of the Deep, where Goofy's like running the submarine, and Mickey has a line, says, don't worry, Goofy's watching over us, which really sums it up, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, and getting back to the Mickey shorts, do you get a lot of complaints or a lot of praises for the new ones that are actually out? The ones that are more upbeat and the more contemporary.
Yeah, I think most people like them because they're just funny, and they have a different look, and they kind of people seem to accept them. I think it was a little shocking in the beginning because it was a little different than the way you saw Mickey before, but it's kind of a throwback to the 1930s, and he's more Dippy Dog the way he originally was back in 1932 than he is the traditional Goofy. But he's a lot sillier and can be, we can do things with that show that we couldn't do on Mickey Mouse Clubhouse because of the audience and everything. And it's really a smart show, and I think it's hilarious. And most people really love it. And you see online, you'll see 19 million views on YouTube on an episode and stuff. So I guess there are a lot of people out there that love it. And I love it when they're inventive, because it's a little acting challenge for me to say, how would Goofy, going about being Hawaiian? Or we sang in Spanish once, and okay, what's my Spanish voice like for Goofy? And it gives me some challenges rather than, being repetitive.
All right, Cody, you have another question?
Yeah, I was just curious, Bill. What is your favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney movie? Oh,
yeah.
God. Well, growing up, some of the, surprisingly, I liked a lot of the live action ones. I love the Absent-Minded Professor. I love the Jungle Book. The more modern ones, gosh, Little Mermaid, Finding Nemo. It's hard to pick. There's a lot of great ones there.
There's some good ones you mentioned there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Bill. Now, from what I'm hearing, you're just not exclusive to Disney, right? You're able to do Sony, Universal, things like that.
Yeah, a lot of people think I'm a Disney employee. I am not. I am a freelance agent, and I get to work for whoever I want to work for.
Awesome. All right, Jared. You have another question?
Yeah, Bill, this is a two-sided question. I'm a huge Disney Parks fan, so I've always got to ask this question. What is your favorite Disney park attraction? And then the second part of that question is, what is Goofy's favorite?
My favorite, it's tough to, I like the fast rides. I like Space Mountain. I like the California Soarin' is great over in Disney California Adventure. In Florida, the Rock and Roller Coaster, Tower of Terror, Indiana Jones, all the fast ones are my favorites. Goofy would probably like Let There Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion as well.
But Goofy,
Awesome.
Haven't you rode your Barnstormer?
Gosh, that's fun too, but I get to do that every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, that would probably be his favorite. Yeah, I forgot that one.
So, you're able, you're able just to go into the parks and, do you get to go to Florida a lot, or you're just geared more towards Disneyland and California Adventure?
I don't get down there as much as I'd like. I usually get to go for a personal appearance, a time or two a year to Florida. I certainly would like to go more often. And we don't do a whole lot of personal appearances at Disneyland, but occasionally we do, a couple, 2 or 3 a year. But most of the times I'm confined up here to the valley near the studios is where I do the vast majority of my work.
So, are you currently working on any movie that we should look out for, or?
Well, let's see. Well, as I said, today I finishing up an episode of the 7D. We are doing more Mickey shorts. We had one that came out this week. It's like a Hawaiian themed cartoon. Those are great. Let's see what else. We got a new series that we're working on now. I haven't been given the okay to really talk about it yet, and Disney likes to give the okay on that. Kingdom Hearts, everyone asks about. When's that coming out? I don't know. We've been working on it for a long time, so it's going to be great when it does, but I have no idea when it comes out, and they don't give me a press release saying anything, so I don't know any more than fans do.
All right, and let's see. Now, when you're doing the voice of Goofy, do you do a lot? Do you get a lot of requests like for like birthday calls, or a lot of requests for like surprise appearances, things like that?
Not really surprise appearances, because a lot of times the guy in the costume will do those, I guess. But occasionally I'll get requests from friends to, oh, could you call my daughter or talk to my daughter or something like that. I'll get those from time to time. But that's one of the nice things about this type of celebrity, is that Goofy's famous. I'm not, so I get to go out in public, and most people don't know who I am. Occasionally I'll get recognized, but that's not too often. And so, I'm not bugged with paparazzi outside in my bushes or anything like that.
Right. And you said that, everybody knows Goofy is your number one. That's your staple. What would you say would be your number two?
Let's see. Well, for Disney, probably people always forget about Pluto. I love doing Pluto, and I've been doing him just as long as I've been doing Goofy. And it's actually more difficult than Goofy, because you have to get emotions out without words. So you've got to do, barks and whines and woo, 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 and okay, now make a scared one, woo, woo, and you got to come out with how do you do that? A little more difficult. One of my favorites that I have done over the years is Horace Horsecollar. Made his first appearance in Prince and the Pauper way back about 1990. And his voice I had to come up with immediately on the spot. And it's basically a mixture of Jim Backus and Ben Stein. And that was kind of fun to come up with and do. For other studios, of the Warner's characters, Foghorn's my favorite. Ain't a big old chicken, kind of a funny, loud voice like that. That boy's about as sharp as a bowling ball.
Yeah, he's actually my favorite Warner Brothers character growing up. Cody, do you have another question?
Yeah, first of all, Bill, did you do Horace Horsecollar and Epic Mickey, the video game?
Yes, I did.
I thought so. I played Epic Mickey back a few years back, and I thought you might have been that voice. Bill, I have no idea who listens to these episodes, but someone may be listening that is an aspiring voice actor. What would be your one big piece of advice you would give them as a aspiring voice actor?
My best piece of advice is do acting that involves getting in front of a live audience, improv, stand-up, plays, whatever, because you learn so much from an audience on how to deliver a line, how to make a joke funnier. I did 5 years of stand-up, and that was great training for me, because when you're in a booth and they just give you the lines, it's your job to bring them to life. And the more you know how to do it and to make it funny, the better off you'll be. And remember that it's voice acting with the accent on acting rather than voice acting. These characters have funny voices, but they're still characters. So you got to figure out how they think, what kind of personality traits they have. And if you concentrate on that part, let the voice kind of take care of itself in a lot of ways.
Yeah, dude. Now, you practice, in front of a television and things like that. Was there other avenues that you went through? Did you go to any schooling for what you did, or was it just all natural?
Well, just picking up the voices and learning to do impressions and things, I just picked up on my own. Now, I did get a degree in journalism, and of course, we had on-air training for that, doing the news. But mostly, it's just you learn by doing, and a lot of it was just on my own. The broadcasting and the radio was a great training ground because it gave me a place to try stuff. And it didn't matter. They were little dinky stations, and it didn't matter if I was good or bad. You need a place to be bad, so you can learn. That's not important, and that's why, doing plays, community college plays, or, just with little theater groups or whatever. In other words, just to get out there and do it. And the longer you do it, the better you get at it.
Awesome. Brittany, one of our co-hosts, she wants to know what your thoughts are on Jason Marsden.
Oh, I love Jason. His first job with me was a Goofy movie back in '95.